Good morning. It is Monday. It is in September. I think it's the 9th today. And we're going to do some coding. So I spend most of my time here, if you haven't joined me before, I spend most of my time here building things for Alexa. So I write a lot of code. I talk to Alexa a whole bunch. Sometimes we even get in arguments. And I'm working on a trivia game. So that's the thing that we're focused on today. And I'm going to give you a quick tour through, let me post a message here on the chat room, just in case you've joined. What we're going to work on today is making sure that the trivia game is working the way that I expect it to, but also for devices that have screens on them, like the one behind me right here, or the Echo Show 5, which we'll show here on screen in a moment. I want to be able to show some things in the display, and so I've got something there already, but I'm not in love with it, so I'm going to tweak that a little bit, and then we may write some code to finish up some of the things that are going on inside the skill. So good morning, Ice Cream. Thank you for joining. So I guess let's get right into it. I always like to start this with a quick demo because I have worked on things when I'm not on stream sometimes. It's nice to kind of show the state of the skill that we're currently in. So what I'm going to do is flip over to this view, and it looks like that. And you can see I've got Alexa right here above me. And so let's start talking about what's going on with the skill. I'll go through asking a random question. We should see not only a splash screen when the skill starts, but also a question screen when the user is asked a question. And then after I answer the question, I should also get an answer screen. And so we're going to play with all of those. So let's start with just going into a random question. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
This is TKO Trivia, a trivia game with 20 different categories that will knock you out. What should we do next? You can say give me a random question, or start today's game.
Give me a random question.
Here's your question, from the music category. In the Billy Joel song Piano Man, what is the profession of Paul?
Paul was a real estate novelist, I believe. It sounds like maybe I've got a little lag on my microphone, so we're going to try and play with that live here on camera, because why not? And see if we can fix that on the fly. I don't know if it actually will work, but we'll see. So I just added a little more delay to my microphone, and my microphone.
You're out of time. What is the answer?
Real estate novelist. Nice.
That's a correct answer. Congratulations. I just added 10 more points to your monthly total, which gives you a total of 3,490. The line Paul is a real estate novelist is about a real estate broker who was a regular at the bar who always claimed to be working on a book. Billy Joel figured Paul would never finish because he was always in the bar. You can say something like, give me a science question, or you can start today's game. What will it be?
Repeat.
That's a correct answer.
I'm going to turn that down. So I want to talk about what's on the screen here. You can see that I have an image on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, I have like basically a description of what the answer is and how it works. So those are the pieces that play together here. And this is my answer template. What I think I really want to do, because I have a really nice image for every single answer, is to take that image and make it full screen. And then maybe just have Alexa say the things that are in text there. Alexa, quit. So I'll have to think about how we're going to do that. So let me jump back to everything. And let's go to my answer template. So the easiest way to do this, I have this whole layout that is that display, but I think I actually want to change it up. So what I'm going to do is go over to a browser and go to the design tool as part of the developer tools. And so I got to sign in. I know he hasn't mentioned it on the chat, but thank you, Mike Eaton, for joining. He's given me some good feedback on the stream, kind of lagging out a little bit, and I'd like to avoid that. So thanks for the feedback on that. All right, so come into my skill and come down here to display. And this gives me the design tool for APL. So I think the thing that I really want to use is kind of like this. But I really want there to be a hint. So you can see how some of these have a hint in them, like this one down here at the very bottom. You can see there's a little bit of a... blow these up a little bit. So it says, try, Alexa search for cheese. These ones that have a hint are the ones that I really like. And this one doesn't have it. So I'm going to start with this one and see if I can't tweak it up. Because I really want to put an image in there and a header at the top. So yeah, we'll start with this and see what we can come up with. So I have this text and it looks like I just have the text right aligned. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this text out entirely. So we'll get rid of it. And then I'm going to take an image and I'm going to put it inside that container. Maybe I put it here. Yeah, okay. And then I'm guessing the container probably has some alignment on it that is like bottom align or something like that. So that's justification, grow, shrink, checked, disabled. Not seeing it anywhere there. So let's just look at the APL for this. And in here I have my image that's 200 by 300. I actually don't want that. What are you angry about here? Image width and height must be defined. If they're not defined, it's set to, I think it's 100 by 100. So what if I do like a scale best fit? Can I do that? Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. And then I wonder if I can do like width. %. Height. There's nothing better than typing JSON. Nothing that I like more. Okay, so that filled my image, but it's filling it too much. So let's make this 90. I don't know, this isn't really how I want this to work either. What I want is I want the container itself to be the one that grows. And I want these to go away. None of this is doing really what I want it to do. All I want to do is put an image in that box. This shouldn't be that hard. So let's think about what I could be doing here. What if I get rid of all this and just make it center? What if I get rid of justify content altogether? I don't know what that gets me, but I don't know what grow is either. We're gonna lose that. Whoa. Okay, so grow is something that I wanted, I guess. And then I'm going to, I have my image. So the box is the right size, right? Everything there is good. What I really need is the image to be bigger. Best fill? No. I don't want to define an... a size for it because there's so many different display types. I want best fit. I don't know how to do this. I want to... Oh, what did I do in my other one? I have my splash screen. How did I do that image? My background image is 100%. This thing is 100%. And that all works great because it can. Man. Wish my nose would stop running. Alright, so... I want to be able to put an image in this box. Let's go to the GUI. My container has okay, so that seems to be vertical alignment is really what we're talking about there, justify content. If I do bottom, no, it's start and center. Okay, so I want center. And then I also want like a... Well, I mean, I guess that's a thing. That is centered. So let's lose that, because I have the box the way I want it. Can I align the image? Oh, interesting. My container thinks it's that big. My image, center. When looking at the image, though, it doesn't have that same... So what if I set the width of this to 100%? Because that would be okay. So much to learn here, man. Okay, so I just set the width. So what if I set this to auto? Does that do what I want? No. I don't know. I don't understand. This has a width. Auto. Ooh. Image width must be an absolute or relative value. What would a relative value be? 10? No. Defaults to auto. So if I put auto in there, okay. Min width, what if I do that? Is 100%. It didn't scream at me for that. Min height is 70%. Ooh, maybe 60%. I don't hate this. All right. I mean, that is the layout that I'm going for. The thing that I really need is... How do I do this in the other one? Because I have, for the answer template, I have a container that has... Where does my title go and all that? This is so hard. I don't love that either. I don't love that but the image is so small. I wonder if I should just set my image to the background. If I go back to this, well, let's save this at least. If I come down here and choose download code, we'll call this answer maybe. Alright, so we at least have saved that. Now let's come in here and we'll take our answer one that we do have and bring that. Oh, I gotta. Upload code here. So what I really want is this title up here at the top too, right? This is where the answer will go. So I wonder if I just got rid of this entirely. That stretches my text out. Oh, this might be okay. And then the background image, which is probably this. No. Where would the background image be? This one? Yeah. So that image would have to be my actual image. Alright, let's try this. So I'm going to take this thing, download the code. Answer background, just so I have a reference for all of these. And then let's go over here and open that file. Downloads, answer background. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. And I don't want to lose the answer that I do have. So I'll take answer background. That should be just like the answer one. The difference is I'm going to change the background image, which is background image, backgroundimage.sources.url. So if I come into my code, I should be able to come down to my add APL function. And down here I have splash answer and get question, and in the answer one I'm going to bring in answer.json, which we've saved for the new file, which has all the same properties. And for my background image, instead of having my background, I'm going to have the current question image. So we'll just swap that out, and then I think I can comment these out because I won't have a foreground image. Well, let's just see how that looks. I think it's not going to be right. I think the text will be wrong. It'll be in the wrong place, or it'll be too small. But it's worth a try to see how close we are. Because again, getting all of my live data to fit into a template, you kind of have to run the skill, which is not always ideal, but it's fine. So we have our Echo Show 5. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
This is TKO Trivia, a trivia game with 20 different categories that will
Alexa,
knock you out.
Give me a random question.
Here's your question from the design category.
Yeah. That's a problem too.
What is the lowest enlisted rank in the United States Air Force, which is signified on the uniform with one inverted chevron on the uniform?
Alexa, airman?
You've got that wrong. Don't let it affect your self-esteem, though. Airman is the correct answer.
Well,
What would you like to do?
What did you hear
You
me
can
say? I
start
think I got
today's
that
game
right.
or ask for a trivia question.
Alexa, quit. So I have my background image in the back, which is kind of cool. Alexa, quit.
Whoops. It looks like
Alexa,
one of our programmers broke.
Quit. So Airman got the wrong answer. So that's always one to investigate anytime I'm playing with this. This is me testing my data. It heard me say men, but I said airman. All right. So if we come in here, I have my airman answer. I'm going to put airmen, and I'm going to put men, I guess. I mean, it's unlikely that you would just answer men to this answer, so I don't feel like I'm giving you a cheap way out of solving this one, but the fact that I said airmen and it heard men suggests to me that I want to make sure that I'm covering both. And I wonder if it heard air as like, men? I don't know. I don't know why it ended up with just men, but this is what synonyms are for, and this is what dynamic entities really makes easy for me, is that when I find a mistake like that in a question, all I have to do is add a value to this table, and it's solved. That will now work going forward. So, all right, back to our display. So there was a couple of things that I saw there. The last time that I was doing APL development, I was doing it on the Big Echo Show, the Generation 2 one. And what I found with that was that everything was fitting perfectly. And now that I'm back here on my Echo Show 5, everything is not fitting so perfectly. And so I think I'm going to have a bunch of conditional APL stuff that determines font sizes and things on the fly. I'm also noticing that my images don't fill the screen. And I think I know why that is. So if I go to question, or no, I'm sorry, answer was one that did not fill the screen. I want to have my background image, which is here, best fill. Yeah, see, that's weird. I want it to fill the screen, but yet it's not. It's filling. It's fitting the image, right? It's putting the whole image on the screen. And the other thing I need to do is obviously make it less bold. So I'm getting exhausted by this APL stuff. This feels like I could spend more time tweaking up a couple of templates than I could building this, what I have built the entire skill otherwise. And that is frustrating to me because it makes me want to just stop and work on all the other code that still needs to be written. What should I do? Well, I'm going to go back to this template, which at least looks fine. And paste it in here. Yeah, I'm going to take a stop on the APL. It just gets so frustrating to me when I can't just do the things that I want to do. And it's mostly because I just don't know enough about APL development. And I feel like if I was a wizard, it would be better. And I think part of my aversion to it is that, like, I'm here live streaming, and I know that if I were on the other side of this camera and I was just watching someone work, to see them just, like, get frustrated and angry at something is probably not what you want to watch. So that's part of why I'm bailing on this also. But I'm going to take a break for right now. I'm going to flip this back to what it was. And I think for now what I'm going to do, well, let me re-upload that to APL, or to Lambda, sorry. Re-upload the piece that I have there. Ice Cream, I get it. It is a lot of investment, and I just feel like for what I'm really doing, this is not it's starting to not feel worth it to me. Um, I'm building a display interface for a set of devices that is primarily for voice. So I know that most of the devices that are going to play my game won't even ever see this. And then I'm going to invest all the time for some percentage of my audience. I definitely need to know. Here. This is a cool thing we can do. Let's at least, we're gonna just kind of leave stuff as is. But one of the things that I have in here is user session. This is a table that I fill in every single time you start a new session. And I mean you being every user. But it would be really useful for me to know what percentage of the time a user has a screen. So I feel like I could record that here so that I would at least know per session how often a device screen shows up. So let's see where we're writing to user session. So I'm recording the user session here, and it looks like I probably just need a little bit of information. I guess maybe I could just pass in the display. Where is this called? Find all references. This is my request log. If the session is true, then record user session, and I'm passing in the record ID of the user. I really don't want to pass like the whole handler input and all that. I really just want to know whether or not they have a display. And I think I have a function for that. Is it like supports? Yeah, if supports display. And what does this return to me? True, false? Now, this function is wrong, but if it supports display, I'm returning true or false. Okay, so because I'm doing that, I should be able to pretty easily just pass in this supports display handler input, and I have 1, 2, 1, 2 parentheses. That looks good. Okay, so I now am passing that data in, and then I can go to supports display, go to the definition for that, and in here I'm going to fix this function because it's wrong, but do like has display as a thing, and no, I don't need that there. Sports display is just fine except for the logic, which I'll fix in a minute. The thing that I want is the call out to record the user session. Here. This should be has display. Okay. And all I really care about is that it's true or false. Do I care about the... No, I should care about the type of devices, right? I should care about it because I should care about it. So if I go look at CloudWatch, and I always do this and forget, so I'm going to go to camera for a second just to look at CloudWatch because API keys and things. So in my request envelope, what I really care about is how often they support APL, and what version, and what the viewport is. Man, how do I want to do that? I try so hard to sit on this cool stool I have, and it ends up just like cutting the leg circulation off. All right. So I know pixel width, pixel height. Can I get this all by just passing the system context? And then I could save them as individual values? I think so. True or false is not enough. I agree with you, Ice Cream. I think that there's a lot of analytics that we could be tracking, and I'm not sure why we don't do that. But these are the kinds of things when I go through this that I provide that feedback back to our product team. So hopefully they will take this into consideration. I know that I'm pushing really hard on a lot of our analytics right now, so I'll just add this to the list. So I'm going to do shape, pixel width, pixel height, and I can show you this, I guess. Shape, pixel width, pixel height. Do I really want to record all that stuff? I think if I just get those three, that's probably good. And then I also want to know what version of APL they're running, if they are at all. How do I want to do this where it's easy to look at? Let's add some columns here. We're going to do APL version. And we'll call it text, even though it's a number like 1.1. Let's do display shape. We'll do display height. That can be a number. I just want it to be an integer, and I don't want negative numbers. Great. We'll do a display width. This will be a number somewhere. Again, this is why I love Airtable. It just makes my life so easy for some of this stuff. So APL version, display shape, display height, display width, because not only have I modified my table, but I've also completely modified my API. So now these fields exist in the API calls, these fields exist to talk to and save and CRUD them, create, read, update, delete. I don't know why I forgot what the R was. Okay, so APL version, display shape, which will be like the rectangle or round. And then the dimensions, that's probably enough. So how should I do this in code? I'm going to need more than I'm passing it now, which is a true-false value. Baybops, thanks for the question. This table that I'm using, this is a service called Airtable, and you can see it here. This is like my home screen. I don't know if I can go to like their home. Because I'm logged in, I just go right to this. But this is basically an external cloud database, and so everything that I talk to is all JSON. And in this example, like I have this user session table, but all of my questions and all of my data are here. And then in my code, I have written some functions to make this easier for myself, but all I'm really doing, if I find my HTTP call, yeah, I call out to api.airtable.com, and I pass in the database ID and the table ID and my API key, and any filtered data, like filtered down to a specific set of things, and it returns me JSON with all of the objects from that table. It's super, super cool and easy. But it also handles things like relationships. So I have categories here, right? I have a category table here. These are the categories of my questions. And in my question table, I'm assigning them to specific categories. So same goes for locales and on and on. But this is what I use. It's called Airtable. You can go to airtable.com. And at a low level, it's free, which is even cooler. So that's one of the appealing features to me about it. Is that it doesn't cost me anything, and I get a lot of power. Now, there are a lot of other database solutions out there. AWS has some fantastic ones. But the reason I'm using this is because of the interface. I am able to hand this off to some of my friends who are non-technical, but are good at writing trivia questions, and they can come into this interface, and they can edit the questions and add more and everything. And because of the way that I've built my skill, all of the data that's here is all we need. I don't have to re-certify my skill. I don't have to push anything. Make any changes to my code, anything. As long as all the data is here in this table, these questions will then become part of the rotation for my trivia game. So the interface is great for non-technical users, where I could certainly use something a little more industrial like Dynamo or anything really, if I were managing all the data myself. But because I know I'm not, this becomes a really great way to allow them to come in and make those changes for me without me having to make all the changes myself. I don't like to be a gatekeeper when it comes to making an application go, and so this prevents me from having to do that. So great question, Babops, thanks. All right, so the thing that I was doing was figuring out what kind of data I was going to use. And so in record user session, that's where that's the definition of the function. But in here, I need to pass in more than this. I need to pass in the whole handler input and then we're going to use that to pull a bunch of stuff out when we're in record user session. So just by passing that whole handler input, that is, if you guys haven't done a lot of skill building, that is this entire thing. So all of this JSON that gets passed to my skill, this is all my handler input.request envelope. So all of it lives inside here. So I'm just passing that to my function. And then what we're going to do inside this function is grab a few of those values. So we'll say var, what did I call it? Let's try and be consistent here. If we go back to user session, the first one was APL version. So we're going to go get that first. So we'll call this APL version. And this is going to be not has display. It's going to be handler input. And in here we're going to say handler input dot request envelope. Maybe if I could type. Wow. Request envelope. And then we got to go dive into the JSON because I don't remember. So handler input dot request envelope gets me to the beginning here. And so after that, what I want is context dot capital S system dot something. After system is going to be device dot supported interfaces dot alexa.presentation.apl. This is one of the things that really makes me angry about this document, is that they put periods in it.
Amateur wireless presenter.
Alexa,
the brand is Amateur.
quit. Put you on a little mute. What I don't like about this is that I have to refer to this a different way. So I'm going to do
For
this.
amateur wireless presenter, the brand is Amateur.
Alexa, stop. Okay. So I have my supported interfaces, and then I have dot runtime dot max version with the V capitalized. Dot runtime dot max version. And I think that's it, max version, and then it'll be 1.1 as a string. So I have that value. Now the sucky part about this is that if they don't support any devices, then this supported interface thing won't be shown, the alexa.presentation.apl node won't be there, and on and on. So what I'm going to do is create a function that can safely get this. So we'll take that out, and we're going to go get APL version. And we'll pass in the handler input because we'll need that. And then we'll just create a function right here that does that. So function get APL version, handler input. And so what I'm doing this time is just creating a safe way to gather these values. So I know that this is what I need to get. But what I like to do is something like, I have a bunch of these somewhere, something like this. So we'll take this thing, just as an example, and let's put some comments at the beginning of that so it's not in the way. And so I'm checking to make sure that all of these things exist, right? Request envelope dot context dot So context.system. And then after that is system.device. I can probably do this an easier way. And then after device is supported interfaces. Then after that was the Alexa.presentation.apl. And then after that was runtime. And then after that was max version. So assuming all of those values exist, then what we will do is return, maybe. Did I lose a parenthesis? Yeah. We will return that final value, which is runtime.maxversion. So this to here, like that, and we'll just return that value. And that will allow me to safely return the value that I really want. I don't love how that looks, so we're gonna take that like that, and then I guess this does go here. So if all of those things exist, then go ahead and return that value. Otherwise, return what? Nothing? Return empty string? Undefined. Undefined is the right answer. And so get APL version is now either undefined or my APL version. And so in here, I'm creating a new user, but I want to have other values also. So I think I can do like this. We can do APL version, and then colon, and then in here we'll do APL version. So that should allow me to save the APL version every time that a user creates a new session. And again, this isn't every time they hit the skill. This is only when you create a new session, which is based on that session new attribute, which we might be able to see in here. Session new equals true. So if this is true, this means it's the first time you're using the skill, and I'm assuming then every time you're using the skill in that session afterward, you're using the same device because that's how it works. So I only need to record the first time that you do it, which is that value there. So, okay, so we've got that. We've got our get APL version. I can lose all this, and just for some excitement, I won't do this for each one of them, but let's give us a test just to make sure that I haven't broken anything dramatically. But the skill will break immediately if I have screwed this up, because this is the first thing it does. All right. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Something is definitely very broken.
Well, I definitely broke
If
something.
only I could fix it myself.
Alexa, quit.
Sorry for...
So I'm going to jump to camera just because I don't know what's going to show on the screen, and API keys are valuable and all that. So let's see. Handler input is not defined there, really. Not in the place that I thought, though. Did it end up in my data? No. Should sort this by timestamp. All right, so why wouldn't that work? You're saying that on line 1396, sorry you guys can't see this, just give me 1 second and I'll get back to it. It says that handler input is not available. We can jump back to now. So it says it's this line, right? It's this piece here, but handler input does exist. Oh, it's because I typed it wrong. Handler input. Yeah, if you have typos, sometimes your code won't work. And by sometimes I mean always. So let's give that one more go and see if that doesn't fix it. I like when things break because it's just a typo though, and not because my logic doesn't work. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. That's a good sign.
Welcome to TKO Trivia.
Alexa,
The trivia game.
quit. So we jump over here. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. You can see that I now have an APL version of 1.1. Awesome. So one of the other cool things, here, let me make this not full screen. I bring up the bottom of my browser. Another cool tool that Airtable offers is summarization. So you can say things like filled, unique, percent empty. I'm going to say percent filled, and I can see right now that based on this, it's 0.72% of all of the entries that I have in this data table have an APL version, which makes sense because it's the only one of all the records that I have so far. So we'll do that for all of these. But you can see when we do numbers, we get all sorts of other cool stuff too. So let's fill in these other three now that I have those. So we have display shape, display height, and display width. So yeah, let's do that. Oh, I didn't, not full screen anymore. So we have record user session doing what we need it to do. So now we just need to get some other values. So we have, we'll probably do this for all of them because this won't exist otherwise. So we're gonna get device, what did I call that? I've got to bring my browser back full screen because it makes it easier to jump between them. I called it display shape, so we'll call this get display shape. And again, we'll pass in handler input. And we'll do the same thing. We'll do a nice little helper function to get display shape. These are all things that I would really like to have built directly into the SDK so that I'm not writing these myself, but by writing them like this, it should be easy for me to go back to the SDK and put in a pull request and hopefully get some of these things created. And I think undefined is the right answer. The answer is either undefined, which means it doesn't exist, or it's a value, and if it's a value, great. So let's go back just for a moment. Let me fix this. And we'll look at our request envelope just to get a feel for what this part looks like. Okay, so we're here looking at our display stuff, and this is all in viewport. So it's part of context, but then we go to viewport. So I'm going to have to jump over here, and so we'll do context.viewport. And then the next value was viewport.shape is the one that I want because it's either rectangle or round. So viewport.shape. That's much easier. And we'll chop all these down. Not the curly brace. And got a parenthesis, and now in here we can say handler input dot request dot viewport dot shape, or whatever it is. Or undefined. All right, so that's nice and easy. Looks good to me, and so we'll have the viewport shape that comes back. So now I can do shape. this will be viewport. Nope, viewport shape. Cool. So now we have the APL version and we have the viewport shape. Now we're going to do get the height and the width. And should I do these as one? Or should I? No, because I might only want one or the other. And I don't want to be constantly battling with an object. So we're going to just do get display height and get display width. I'm trying to think of how I might use these in the future. Was it display height, display width? It is pixel width, pixel height. Or current pixel width, current pixel height. What are those? I don't know the answer to that. So we're going to go with pixel width and pixel height. Okay. Get pixel width. And up here I'm going to have a pixel width, get pixel width, and then a var pixel height equals get pixel height. Looks like I typed it right that time. So those will exist, and then we can stub this stuff in here as well, which is, did I capitalize it? I probably did. Tend to do that in user table. Display height, display width. I'm going to change the names of these to pixel height. Save. And pixel width. Save. All right. So now I can call this pixel height. And pixel width. Everything looks good there. So we have passed in all of our values that we want to save so that we know what they are. Now I just have to have those functions exist. So I have get pixel width, and this was viewport dot pixel width and pixel height. Great. So this will be viewport dot pixel width, which means this will be pixel width, and then we'll do the same thing for height. And I don't necessarily love these redundant functions, but I think they'll serve my purpose later as I'm trying to figure out how tall I should make an image and junk like that. So we'll live with it for now. And I'm working on a thing, which I'll show you in a second, because this file has gotten very large. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do is externalize a lot of these little helper deals. So I'm going to take get pixel width and get pixel height, and all four of these, cut them. And I have another file that I've created called utils. And that should be fine, because these are self-supporting functions. They don't do anything outside of themselves. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to move over here. So I'm going to move that to utils, but I have to remember what I call utils, because I have to have an object name for that. So utils is called utils, which means in my function that I'm working in, which is like way down here, right? The get user session thing, record user session. So these now have to have utils in front of them. Because I've moved them. And I'm pretty sure about that. Let me make sure I've done that somewhere else. Yeah, like get small category image. Okay, so I'm doing the right thing. That's what I wanted to make sure. And I have all these function calls. Now I feel like I could clean this up a little bit because I don't really need these variables. So I'm going to just take these function calls now and drop them directly into where I'm using the variables. So we'll take that one. That was viewport shape. No reason to like overdo it with the code. I'm trying to really streamline as I go through this and trim trim things down. And then we'll take this last one. And I just noticed that this one is pixel width and that one's pixel height. So we should fix that. It doesn't care on the other side as long as I have the name specified, so that's all good. And then we can get rid of these, which is 4 lines of code I don't need. And that all looks beautiful. Now let's see how much I broke. Or if it will all just work. I mean, we just created 4 functions. I didn't test all of them. Then I externalized them to another file. Then I changed the calls. Then I got rid of the variables. And then I put the function calls directly in line. So let's see. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Oops.
Yeah.
It looks like
Alexa,
one of our
quit.
programmers broke.
So let's go see what I did. I'm sure it's something silly, but I have definitely made a mistake somewhere. There was too many changes at once. utils.getAPL version is not a function. Oh, I know why. So let's go back to the code. One of the things that I did not do is, in order to have this all work, I need to pass all of my function names out. So I need get APL version. This is exactly like the bottom of the Alexa manifest. Get display shape. Get pixel width. Get pixel height. And sometimes I've been known to just put all of my functions directly in line inside this module exports so that I don't have to worry about this specific step, but it ends up being cleaner. And the nice thing about this is that, let's say this is a private function that's only going to live here inside my utils, and it's not used or called by my main application. I can leave them here, and by not exporting them, they won't get used, but anything in this file, of course, can use that stuff. So it is nice to be able to have those options. So hopefully that's the only issue that I've got, is that we had not passed those functions out, which means we couldn't call them. So let's see if that has been fixed. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. Nice.
Welcome to TKO Trivia, the trivia game show where you answer difficult questions
We'll
and
do a
win
question
nothing.
while we're here.
What would you like to do? You can start today's game or ask for a trivia question.
Give me a random question.
Here's your question from the film category. What film, released on May 2nd, 2008, was considered to be the first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Alexa, Iron Man.
That's a correct answer. Congratulations. You just scored yourself 10 points, which gives you a total of 3,480. Interestingly, the second movie, The Incredible Hulk, came out only 6 weeks later. What should we do this time?
Quit. Okay, so that's awesome. So the next thing that I want to do then is get out of my logs and go over to the user session stuff. And let's take a look at my table. And I don't see the data that I want. I wonder why that is. 246. It is currently 59, so it didn't record one at all. Unless it put it down here at the very bottom. No. Can I refresh this table view or anything? Because I really would have expected that to just work. It didn't error. Huh. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
This is TKO Trivia, a trivia game with 20 different categories
Alexa,
that will
quit.
knock you out.
Okay. So something is still broken. I'm going to look at my logs real quick just to see if there's something there that I didn't see. I mean, the skill's working. Oh, here we go. Viewport shape is apparently not the right name. So I called it display shape, and it should be viewport shape. Is that right? Is that really what we call it in the request? Oh, I called it. It should be viewport shape because it's viewport.shape. So that's the name that I should be using, and the table name that I had was display shape. So now I have a table name called viewport shape, and in all of my functions stuff, I am referring to it now as viewport shape. So that was the issue. It was just failing, but it was a failed promise. I had made the call out. I was awaiting it, and it was an error. It was an error I didn't care to catch. Basically, if I don't catch their session data, it's not the end of the world. But it has been fixed. So now we should see, if we come over here, we should see our data appear when the skill starts. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. Nice.
This is TKO Trivia.
Okay.
A trivia game with 20 different categories
Alexa,
that will knock you out.
Quit. So we're now saving these 4 values. I feel like there's one more value that I want now, which is device ID. And this is only so that I can easily identify that they have 2 of these devices or 4 of these devices, right? Because if there's a device ID with these records, then I can say, oh, you have 2 devices or 4 devices or whatever. So I think this will just be a useful bit to store as well. So let's call this device ID. We'll just slap it out here on the end, device ID. And it's going to be a single line of text. And we're going to do all the same stuff we just did. But I think that will be helpful because otherwise all I'll see is that they're using an Echo Show 5, which is the result that I'm getting here. But it would be good to know that a user has multiple devices, or eventually I would store other information like user ID. I mean, I have their user ID, but being able to understand like more about how it's being used. I guess I just feel like this is one of those future data points that would be really useful to have to be able to do analytics against later, rather than realizing it halfway through and only having this data for a few of my users. So every time you start a session, I'm going to record your device ID also. It doesn't have anything useful in it, it's just a unique identifier. So let's look at this. And in here we have device ID is sitting right next to supported interfaces. Why did I say that? Supported interfaces. So we'll use that as our model for doing this. We're going to have a device ID function. So we'll do that. We're going to change this to device ID. And this is going to be get device ID. And handler input. And then we're going to go over to our utils function, and we're going to use this big dog, the APL version. And we're going to get device ID. Wow. And in here, I just need, it was right next to supported interfaces, is that right? Yeah, so device.device ID is what I want. Device.device ID. Is it lowercase, uppercase? Yeah. All right, and then this can all go away. So I can put a close parens here. And I can get rid of most of this. Nope, not this one. Like that. And then this is the value that I want to return. These are going to work great. I think I'm going to build a few more of these, and then I think I'll try to add them to the SDK, because I use this kind of stuff all the time, and I think having these kinds of functions in the SDK for everything, like literally any value that you might think of in the request thing, it'd be nice to just have a function that I could call Alexa.getDeviceID or Alexa.whatever, rather than having
Echo allows you to
Alexa,
talk to me in more rooms and
quit. Always forget to mute. It didn't do it.
The Echo
Alexa,
allows you to talk to
stop. So I have my get device ID function. It's dimmed. This is another nice thing that Visual Studio Code does for me. So it reminds me that, hey, by the way, you haven't called that function in any way. And once I add it here, you can see that now get device ID is lit up. So it's a good little visual indicator that maybe I haven't done everything I need to do. All of this looks great. All of this looks good. Get device ID. Utils now has that. We're going to build our Lambda one more time and see if the device ID shows up this time, and then that will be gold, and we'll be an hour into this already. Done. Come on. Okay. Alexa. Oh, now I muted her. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. Nice. Alexa, quit. So I'm going to step away. I have another device, a couple devices over behind this monitor. I'm eventually going to move them over here, but I haven't run power and stuff over there yet. So I'm going to step away. You'll still hear me, but I'm going to talk to the other devices that have other dimensions just to see how this stuff shows up. So one moment. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
This is TKO Trivia.
Alexa,
Watch it.
quit. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
This is TKO Trivia. What would you like to do?
Alexa,
You can start today.
quit. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Welcome to TKO Trivia.
Alexa,
The trivia game.
quit. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. Oh, no, it doesn't work.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Alexa,
Take a look at the help section.
open
in your
TKO
Alexa
Trivia.
app.
Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Oops. It looks like one of our programmers broke something.
Alexa, quit. All right, that's interesting. So, and I'm back. So, you see that I got some different dimensions. So the 800 by 1280, that is the Echo Show Generation 2, and the 600 by 1024, that is the Echo Show Generation 1, and the one that says round, that's 480 by 480, that is the Echo Spot. Now, you may have also heard that I talked to a device that did not have a screen, which was the just the Gen 1 Echo Dot, like the original kind of square round plastic device, and I got an error. So I'm going to jump over to the camera so I can look at the error and see what it was, and I'm guessing it's that I'm digging into some display stuff that without being super safe about it. So let's see if I can find it. Cannot read property shape of undefined at get display shape. So what did the request envelope look like for that? Yeah, see, that stuff doesn't even exist. So how did we ever try to ask for shape? So I need to go to get display shape and see what I'm doing wrong there. I should probably fix that too. So get display shape, request envelope dot context dot viewport, and there's my issue. This is how this stuff ends up being real dangerous if you're not super safe about it. And you'll see that I did context dot viewport, but I didn't have just viewport by itself. I had viewport dot shape, and so man, I'm really glad that I caught that. But this is an example of where that stuff blows up. Ice Cream, what's the resolution on the new Echo Watch? I have no idea what the Echo Watch is. I myself am running an Apple Watch here. An Echo Watch would be cool, but I don't know anything about that. So I don't know if you're joking. I think you're joking, but if there's an Echo Watch, I don't know anything about it. Okay, so that should fix it. I'm going to go back to that voice-only device. Actually, let's see what happens when I use my phone. Okay, so let's go to the Alexa app. Because we know it's working with displays. I think that's wonderful. Now I just want it to work on devices without displays. So this one's kind of in that mid-range where it doesn't have APL, but it has a display, so it shows cards. Open TKO Trivia.
Something is definitely very broken. If only
Something's
I
still
could fix it myself.
broken.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Okay. Alright, let's go look one more time at my logs and see what I'm doing wrong. Cannot get pixel height of undefined. This is probably the exact same issue that I had on the other ones. And you can see that it is, so I'm going to take this same viewport thing. I don't know why I did that. It's just me moving too fast, I guess. But I've forgotten to check for viewport first. So let's try that, and then we'll try one more time. Oh, good, I'm glad you're joking, because I kind of dig the idea of an Echo Watch. But I also like all the functionality of my Apple Watch, so... especially because I don't know if you guys follow me on other stuff, but I have started running. I'm on day 15 in a row, and I feel better. I can go further already in like 2 weeks, but this thing does all of my tracking for me and all that kind of stuff, so it's super valuable. All right, one more time, Alexa. Open TKO Trivia. Sweet. Okay, so let's go make sure that I'm not showing API keys. This is it makes me so gun shy to do this now, but it's for good reason, I guess. Okay, and so in here you can see that I have a device ID, but that I don't have an APL version, a viewport shape, a pixel height, pixel width. So I'm going to go over to the Echo Dot again and see if I can get the same kind of response. Open TKO Trivia. Alexa, open TKO Trivia. Alexa, quit. Open TKO Trivia. Alexa, open TKO Trivia.
Sorry, I didn't get that. The internet is
Alexa.
slow.
No, that was not that right. All right, so I was trying it on an Echo, like an original Echo also, one of the tall tower ones. But a few of my devices have lost connection to the internet, so I need to check them. But I can see that the Echo Dot did exactly what I expected also. And I'm getting the responses that I expect. So this will be really interesting and useful for analytics once I start getting users to this skill. So we'll initially start with my beta testers, and then we'll venture out from that and eventually publish the skill. My hope is to have this thing published before I get to reInvent. So I need to start a beta test pretty soon here. So I would imagine probably in the next week or so, I'm going to be asking on Cam, but I'll also ask on Twitter and everywhere else if people are interested in beta testing this, because I really am interested to see where it breaks. I know I'm in this weird bubble where I say things the way that the skill is expecting to say them, like give me a random question. But I know, a week or so ago, and I fixed some of this stuff, but probably a week or so ago, I had my wife use the skill, and I wouldn't tell her anything about it. I said, just listen to it and play like any user would. and she was breaking it left and right, and to the point where like I couldn't let her keep going because she just kept breaking it. It was embarrassing, and I'd have to run in and make a change or modify or whatever. So that's what a beta is for, is to get good feedback and have people let you know what's good and what's bad and what's not working and not. But this is great. So I now have an easy way to capture all the device information, and I can see how people are really using my skill. I could build some reports on top of this if I wanted to, because now I just have all the live data. So that's good. That feels good. I wonder if I should do one more thing, because it's just data. I'm pulling all this stuff out, but as far as my session data goes, I wonder if it would be useful to just take that entire request envelope in case I wanted to dig through it later. And there's some value that I missed. I don't know how I feel about storing all of that information. I'm not going to do that for now, but that's something I probably should consider, is just storing all of my user request envelopes. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. It's a lot of data that I might never use. Okay, so am I not storing this? I thought I was storing this. I'm calculating it on the fly every time, huh? All right. I can live with that. So the next thing I really need to do and spend some time on, my rule was I wasn't going to go live with this skill until I had at least 25 questions in every category. And you can see I've done a decent job of getting there. Some I've overwhelmed just because I had a lot of them. But I think I'm going to spend a little more time this morning, probably not on camera because that's pretty boring to watch, but spend some time filling in the rest of these categories with questions so that I have 25 at least of each. That would give me 500 questions to start with, and then as my events start popping up, I can have event questions where I add 10 new questions every time, and this all ties back to my question table. So I can see out here at the very right, I think, event question. I can see whether or not a question has been used in a quiz before. They'll have a value like this, and my goal is to only ever use one question per event. So the starting 500 questions that I have in the database, those will all be ones that anyone can play anytime, and they'll always be there. But every day there will be a new 10-question quiz, which means the database will grow by 10 questions every day. And you'll be able to, when you ask for a random question, you'll get all the questions that were there originally, plus all of the questions that have ever been part of a daily game. Because I probably have 150 plus questions per category right now. It's just a matter of, it takes a lot of time to format all these, get an image, write the answers, write the synonyms, all that kind of stuff. So each one takes a few minutes, and a few minutes times 500 or 1,000 or 1,500, that becomes quite a task. So this has been the biggest challenge of all of this, is that the skill itself isn't that hard to build, but getting all of the data to a place where it's usable, that seems to be the trickier problem. And I wonder if many of you as skill developers are running into that same situation where your content consumes most of your time, not your code necessarily. Okay, so we're an hour and a half into this, and I think that's a good amount of time for today. I have a bunch of stuff I've got to finish up. I'm actually on vacation a good chunk of next week, and the week following I'm speaking at a bunch of conferences. So this is my last real week of just being at home and getting some stuff done. So for those of you that live in the Columbus area, thank you for reminding me, Ice Cream. The Alexa developers group here in Columbus is meeting on Thursday evening here on Otterbein College's campus at what they call why am I forgetting what it's called? Is it the shop? It's not the shop. The zone? It's not the zone. Otterbein College, the Forge, the Point. That's right. Thank you, Ice Cream. So Jenny Merrow, thank you for being here. Please feel free to chime in more. But if you're here in Columbus, on Otterbein's campus, there's a building on their campus called the Point, and we have an Alexa developer meetup group that happens every month. And I'll be speaking there actually this Thursday night. So I would love to have you join us. Please come out. Let me see if I can find the website for that, and I'll add it to the chat. Alexa, Meetup Columbus. It's a great opportunity to get together with a bunch of other people that are building cool stuff for Alexa, and talk about what you're working on and ask questions of each other and whatever. We've got 653 members. I mean, this is not a small group, but there'll probably be 30 or 40 people there for sure, I hope. So let me go to Twitch, because the chat room that I'm looking at is on the PC that I'm streaming from, but I'm using my Mac to drive all this, so I will come in here and we'll go to my channel. And in the chat room, I can add this. Boom. And that's a link to the meetup. So if you're here in Columbus, please come out and join us, meet some new people, meet some people that are also interested in building this kind of stuff, and just talk. So, well, I just went infinite. And so with that, I think I'm going to sign off for this morning. Thank you guys all for joining. Hopefully you learned a little something, or taught me a little something, as tends to happen. But we'll keep working on this thing. I will be back Wednesday. There's a very good chance that I'll be back with Amit Jatwani. We enjoyed doing that last Wednesday, and I think we're going to try and do more of that. So thank you all. I will see you all again very soon. Take care.